What's going on, guys? It's Adonis. Today we're going to talk about some information that Akira Toriyama just dropped on us. The knowledge that we needed to fully understand why Kefla or Kafura or Kafla, why she was so powerful. So we're going to talk about that right now. Now, if you guys are fans of Dragon Ball Super, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you have notifications turned on so you don't miss any future content. Now, before we get into it, shout out to Herms98, as always, for translating this for us. Now, Akira Toriyama had a Q&A session around Saiyans, and he brought up something that most people have no idea what it is, and it's called S cells. And these cells are not something that every Saiyan has, and some Saiyans do, but they aren't in a massive quantity. Some have more than others, but that cell is what allows a person to become a Super Saiyan. It's not just because you're a Saiyan that you have the ability to become one. And he breaks this down, and I'm going to read what Herms98 translated for us, and we can talk about what that means. So the question was, can anyone become a Super Saiyan if they train? And his answer was, it's not like anyone can become a Super Saiyan through training and anger. In order to become a Super Saiyan, one's body must contain something called S cells. Once these S cells reach a certain amount, a trigger such as anger will explosively increase the S cells and cause change in the body. That's Super Saiyan. Most Saiyans have some S cells, although not a great quantity. The reason why Goku and Vegeta's children became Super Saiyan relatively easily is probably because, to a certain extent, they inherited a lot of S cells, and also because Earth's environment is gentler and easier to live in than planet Vegeta. And he was also asked, how does one increase S cells to become a Super Saiyan? Now, Toriyama's answer was, having a gentle spirit is the best way to greatly increase one's S cells, but most Saiyans have trouble with this, which I think is why no Super Saiyans appeared for such a long time and they became the stuff of legend. However, one can't reach the quantity necessary for becoming a Super Saiyan simply by having a gentle spirit, so a certain amount of battle power is indeed necessary. Looked at in this light, it's easy to see why becoming a Super Saiyan came so easy for Goku. Now let's talk about this because this is really interesting. The history of the Saiyans in Universe 7 is completely different from the history of Saiyans on Universe 6. Universe 7 Saiyans, you already know, are basically warriors that were held captive or, kind of enslaved by Frieza to do his bidding, and then essentially got wiped out. So they were always under completely different pressure, a completely different environment than the ones in Universe 6. Now, the crazy part about this is it really starts to explain why Goku accelerated so much faster than Vegeta did early on in Dragon Ball Z, and why it seemed as if the more that Vegeta became more like Goku, more family-oriented, wasn't necessarily focused on killing people anymore. A lot of this started to change for Vegeta, and you started to see him close the gap on Goku so much faster, to the point where we see him in Dragon Ball Super, where they both attain Super Saiyan Blue at the same time. These things make a lot more sense now. Now, the first time we've seen any other Saiyans outside of Universe 7 was during the Universe 7 versus Universe 6 tournament, and we meet Kaba for the first time. Now, the crazy part about this, in his base form, he was almost at Vegeta's level. Now, keep in mind, Kaba is significantly younger than Goku and Vegeta. However, his base form is almost on par with that of Goku and Vegeta. I'm not saying that they're equals, I'm saying they're almost on par. He was able to actually fight with Vegeta in his base form. And considering the fact that we've seen Goku and Vegeta train with Whis on numerous occasions, we know that their base forms are super powerful, super powerful. So even if Kaba is half as strong in his base form at the age that he's at, or 75% of what Vegeta's base form full potential is at that point that's pretty ridiculous considering how old he is. And now that there's this explanation of S cells, and knowing that the Universe 6 Saiyans on planet Sadal didn't go through the same environment, the same treacherous background, this, ridiculous upbringing that the Universe 7 Saiyans went through, you can understand why now that these Saiyans are so much more powerful and why it's so much easier for them to, to learn these Super Saiyan forms. And like Akira Toriyama said, it's not just based off the S cells. You have to have a certain level of battle power. And because they already have that level of battle power, achieving Super Saiyan to them is so much easier than it was when Goku tried to do it back in the Frieza arc. Like, they're worlds stronger than what Goku was when he first achieved Super Saiyan. Like, they're not even close. Base Kaba now would probably dick slap Super Saiyan Goku from the Frieza arc like all day. That's not even a fair fight. So with that being said, paired with the SLs, this makes way more sense. So now let's take Khalifa into account, because Khalifa is Goku of Universe 6. She has ridiculous amount of potential. She learns literally on the fly. Like, she sees it and she's like, okay, and then she does it. Exactly how Goku did. Like, he learned the Kamehameha by watching Master Roshi do it. Like, those are the things that Goku has been known to do. Just watching, learning, and then doing. Khalifa is the same way. So you tie that ability in with her ridiculous battle power already. She's already stronger than Kaba as base, already, and he knows that. But then tying in her potential SL count is probably outrageous. This is crazy to me. Like, this makes way more sense. And then we tie in Kale. Obviously, Kale is super kind-hearted, and she has a ridiculous amount of power. So when you have both of these things tied in, this explains so much in why her Berserker form was as powerful as it actually was. Now, what this also does is kind of debunk any theories that Cell could have turned into a Super Saiyan. Because based on what Akira Toriyama just stated, the SL amount is based on kind-heartedness, but also the transformation has to do with that kind-heartedness and a certain amount of battle power. And we know that Cell is not kind-hearted whatsoever. So therein lies that kind of paradox of like, okay, but he inherited these SLs from Goku and Vegeta, but he couldn't turn into a Super Saiyan. There's a lot of ambiguity around that. And it may be the fact that because he's not kind-hearted, that it may have just made those SLs super dormant, that he just couldn't access the power within those cells. Now, we do know that Broly is not canon in the main timeline. We know that Akira Toriyama said that those are kind of like Elseworld stories, another dimension type of a thing. Now, in that regard, we know that Broly is the legendary Super Saiyan, and he is not kind-hearted as well, at all, by any stretch of the imagination. The dude's a psychopath. Now, because he was the legendary Super Saiyan, right, he probably had a completely different makeup. He probably had a ridiculous amount of SLs, and that's what allowed him to be as powerful as he was. So even though he wasn't kind-hearted, he had won the battle power and just had a ridiculous amount of SLs, and that's just how he got to the level that he was on. But I'm so glad Akira Toriyama had this interview. He had this Q&A, answered these questions, because I know a lot of people in the fandoms didn't understand why they were that strong. I didn't care. I thought it made enough sense already based on the story on that they evolved different than the ones from Universe 7. And based on what Whis was talking about earlier in the series, that the base form is what you need to build. The transformations are just the multipliers. If your base form is strong enough, then there we go. And then we saw that Khalifa was exactly what Goku was in her universe. These things made sense to me, but this actually makes the most sense because it's based on their genetics. And that is, you can't dispute that. That makes way more sense. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this, on Akira Toriyama's Q&A on SLs. Let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are. Now, one of the things that Akira Toriyama really went into was this story of the original Super Saiyan, which is so cool. And I really want a movie on this. I think this would be such a dope movie to see. So I'm going to read the translation from Herms, and it reads, long ago, a righteous-hearted Saiyan named Yamoshi fought against the other Saiyans with 5 comrades. He was cornered and became a Super Saiyan, but was eventually defeated by overwhelming odds. Afterwards, his soul wandered in search for 6 righteous-hearted Saiyans, hence Super Saiyan God. Beerus sensed Yamoshi's spirit in his prophetic dream, and long ago a Namekian elder likewise emphasized with his spirit, and so wrote about him in the Namekian Book of Legend, which is how Shenlong knew about Super Saiyan God. Now, I don't know about you, but I would love to see this flashback. I would love to see this in a movie somehow, because we really don't know how strong these Saiyans were in the past. We know that they were powerful, but we don't know how strong a Super Saiyan was back then. Was there like a golden age of the Saiyan race where there were these super powerful beings, and then for whatever reason they got wiped out to being starting over again, and then building up when we saw the whole Frieza arc take place? We don't know how powerful these Saiyans were back then, and how far that was back. You know, we have no idea. Was this planet Sadal? Was Frieza around? Was his family, was his race around? We don't know what that means. I would love to have some kind of lore movie based around this. I want to know your guys' thoughts on that as well. Would you guys want to see a movie or some kind of flashback arc around this? Let me know in the comments down below. And also make sure you guys are subscribed and have that notification bell turned on so you don't miss any future content. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up button, show your boy some love. And if you want to check out my last video, the link will be right here to the side. All right, guys, till next time. See you later.